this week to share with you another pillar from the Scale Your Small Business process. And this one for me is a fun one because it's all about organization. This week we're going to talk about operational procedures. The primary purpose of your operations department is to keep your entire team well organized. So whether you are one person or a team of people, making sure that your operational procedures are well organized and flowing is the best way to keep your business running. Now, if you have tuned into this podcast before, you know that I love this type of stuff. And there's so many different ways that we could go when we talk about operations. But because I like to keep these podcasts short and sweet, I want to focus on your project management or the software that you're going to use to keep your business organized and running smoothly. Now, we use Asana for so many different projects, but there are so many different ones that are similar, so you've really got to dig in and find the right one for you, and don't be afraid to keep looking if you've got one, but it's not working so well for you. One thing that I will tell you about Asana is that it was something that I was struggling with. I could not figure out how to set it up. And I was at a conference and someone mentioned to me, you could probably hire someone to do that. And honestly, it was like a light bulb went off. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, that there's someone out there that could set up our Asana. And guess what? I found that person and they were amazing. It totally changed everything that we did with Asana. Once I had someone who knew what they were doing, set everything up that I needed to set up, and kind of showed me the ropes a little bit, I was able to really maximize what we needed it to do. And since then, we have used it for almost every project. It's awesome. So I highly encourage, if you don't have a system that you're using yet, make sure that you find one and use it to its full capacity. One system that we use in conjunction with Asana is Dropbox. And I think we should spend a little bit of time talking about how to organize your Dropbox, because it really can become a giant mess really quickly. Same thing if you're using G Drive. We use both, but we'll cover Dropbox in this episode because I think it's one that is worth spending more time on. But just keep in mind that you could use it for G Suite or anything else that you're using to store all your files. And the main thing that you want to focus on is how you organize and label everything, because you want to make sure that it's super easy for you to find what you're looking for. Our file storage is organized in 3 main categories. It's sales and marketing, operations, and finance and administration. So those are the 3 big ones that we use, and then everything falls underneath those files. So under sales and marketing, it could be a separate folder for marketing and for sales. Under operations, we've got fulfillment, content, and product delivery. And underneath that, we've got general, virtual trainings, events, keynotes, our clients, any internal trainings that we need to do, any HR, operations, IT, customer service. All of those would fit under the operations main folder. I like to think of operations as the umbrella. And then everything underneath that has folders and, of course, more subfolders. We want to make this organization as easy to find as possible, so that way it's even more easy to search for something if there's something specific that we're looking for. The next one, finance and administration. So under that folder, we're looking for administration. We're looking for legal items, strategy, finance and accounting. All those things will fall under those folders. Now, you might have different folders, which is totally fine. Use whatever folders that you use, but make sure that you're dialing down each folder to make sure that they're very specific. So when you're looking for something, it's super easy to find. When it comes to organizing your files, this is something that we could spend hours on. But rather than do that, I'd really love to highlight how we organize our client files, because I think most people would have client files, and so the vast majority of people could really benefit from figuring out how to store those files. So inside Dropbox, we have client files. Underneath those client files are each individual client's name, and then within each client's name is maybe even a subfolder, but typically just one folder, depending on how many accounts they have with us, of different formats of different forms that we use. So what we do, and this is super important because you want to make it consistent for every single person that you use, so it's something that you want to adopt and use every single time, we use last name first, comma, first name. Then in parentheses, we put their full account number, comma, another parenthesis, what the form is. So if it's an EFT change form, if it's an address change form, whatever the case may be, the full name of the form, hyphen, and the date that the form was signed by the client, and then parenthesis. Now, you can use any sort of naming convention that you want with these files, but the main thing is that you want to make sure that you're consistent every single time, because then when you pull up your massive amounts of files, huge numbers of files are going to be stored in this. So by remaining consistent every single time with that naming convention, it's going to make a huge difference for you. And you can do it however you want. Just make sure that you're doing it the same for every single person. That'll make a huge difference in your search functions, or if you know that you need to look at several different address forms or something that you're looking for that was signed on a specific date by a specific client. Making those search functions enabled makes things so much easier to find when you're in a rush and looking for them. So for this week's Q&A, I would love for you to look at how your filing system is organized, whether that's paper, digital, whatever you're using. I'd love for you to take a look at what you're using and send it to me. Give me some ideas of what you're using and what you need help with, because I feel like this topic is massive and it can be very overwhelming for someone if they're just like, oh my gosh, I've got stacks and stacks of files on the end of my desk. How do I even organize all this stuff? What's the best way to do it? So by you going through your filing cabinet to see how you organize it, I'd love to hear your feedback, but also, where are you struggling at? Where in your operational procedures are you stuck? Because it can be very easy to be overwhelmed throughout this process. And I know that we don't spend a lot of time on these podcasts, but I think it's so much more important that that dialogue remain active. That way we can chat more about it, because I'd love to hear what you have going on and where you're struggling.